Welcome back, travelers, to Legendary Lore, where now we have our three heroic planeswalkers, Kaito, Tamiyo, and the Wandering Emperor, all together, and they're back at Eiganjo. And it's kind of crazy because for Kaito, he's come back to this location several times, but it never feels like home. And even now he's there and he feels like a puzzle piece out of place. He doesn't feel like he belongs there. And even the Wanderer, she feels out of place as well because it's been 10 years and she's been so far detached from her world. And she's missed it terribly. And Tamiyo even says it must be really like a big shock to finally be here. So basically,
they're still like kids too, aren't they? Aren't they like age-wise? Aren't they like late teens, early 20s?
Yeah,
those two.
Like at the oldest, I would say that the Wanderer's about 24, 25 years old. And that's if the Wanderer was like 15 when she disappeared.
Because they look like they were like 9.
Yeah, they look like little children. So like I would expect at the youngest that the Wanderer is and Kaito are probably like maybe 8 or 9 when everything happens, making them 18 or 19. But I don't know. My guess is they're around 20. Because I mean then that means that they're still developing and everything is happening, and they've been spending their entire their formative years trying to reunite with each other. That's going to cause some.
We've been spending our entire adult lives looking for each other. And Tammy was like, "Oh, so all of about like 2 or 3 years."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So basically, they're there, and when the Wanderer tries to reach out to Kyodai, because they're now in front of Kyodai. By the way, they're kind of like. Kyodai recoils from her because remember the Wanderer is incomplete. Her spark is kind of broken, and so the Tamiyo gets an idea. She's like, "Give me the reality chip, please." And Kaito's like, "Okay, yeah, sure." And he gives it to her, like just without any kind of hesitation. He's like, "I trust Tamiyo completely. Here."
Like, obviously, I can trust her. I just met her. I met her son. We're best friends.
And so, basically. Tamiyo explains that while it's not a permanent solution, the reality chip can be used to anchor the Wanderer. And so we get this terrifying piece of art in which the jellyfish thing is driving its tendrils into the veins in the Wanderer's hand.
That's not horrendous. That's the imagery I love. That's an awesome, peaceful solution.
Yeah. And like, it's interesting, and it says that it seemed to settle like a mere extension of her own being. And at that point, Kyodai is able to become still, and the Emperor looks like he's at peace. So basically, all of that happens, and then there's just a moment of silence, followed by the Wanderer collapsing in agony and pain, and like her hands at her temples, squeezing like she's in agony. And so he tells Tamiyo, "Go find Light Paws. She needs to know the Emperor's back. She can help." And so Tamiyo goes, she's out, she's gone, she's looking. And he goes, "What do you need? Like, if it's hurting you, I can take off the jellyfish." And she's like, "No, it's not that. It's these visions. I can see the lab. I can see the monster." So basically, this whole deal is that the reality chip created by Tezzeret is connected in some way to the Phyrexians, and especially Jin Gitaxias, and as a result of having this thing fused with her, or equipped to her, you might say, she is experiencing whatever is happening in that area. She's able to see from the perspective of somebody else in the lab with Jin Gitaxias. And it turns out that Jin Gitaxias has informed Rizona and the Asari uprisers that the Emperor has returned and that they're going to attack the palace immediately.
That's an awesome first course of action.
Yeah.
That's what I'd do.
Look, this person that's been missing for a while and causing a lot of problems from her absence, well, she's back. Oh, let's go kill her. So we have the uprisers. They're now going to come and attack the Eiganjo, right?
Awesome.
And so the Emperor, she doesn't like stop there. She's like, "Look, we have to stop the monster. He's been experimenting on Kami, torturing innocents. We can't let him cause another war between the mortal and the spirit realms." And Kaito's like, "No, That's not what it can't be what he wants. Then another war. And so they're trying to think, what is it that he actually wants? What is it that they're actually trying to get up to? And he says, well, whatever it is, it involves Tezzeret. And so basically, he says, he explains, like, the night you vanished, Tezzeret used a prototype of that reality chip on Kyodai. And so the thought is that he's probably trying to control the Kami. And all she knows is that she wants to stop him before he puts anybody else in danger. And then it's at this moment after when they like decide, okay, we need to stop Tezzeret and all this stuff, right? And Kaito's been holding the Emperor, like just holding her hands essentially this whole time, and like just trying to like anchor her. And he realizes that he's been staring at her face his entire time. And he tries to pull away, and then her grip tightens on his arms. And she says, "You've been looking for me, even after all this time." And it's like, I see, his dearest friend, the night that Kaito lost the Emperor.
Were you laughing through that whole heartfelt scene because you were thinking of referencing the song in your mind the whole time?
Yes.
Is that just
his dearest friend?
I'm just like, why is he laughing? This is a really awesome heartfelt scene. Like, this is super important. Why is he? That's the song reference. He was built.
Yeah. Throughout the entirety of the story, there's moments of the song, like even parts that I've already gone over, there are moments that talk about that. Like the first song is actually in the album, talks about the way that there's been over 1,200 years that have gone by since we last saw Kamigawa and how it's changed since then. It's so cool. You can light it up. And so
I'm glad you restrained yourself from referencing one of those as opposed to, one of the most important moments in the story.
Yeah. So basically, it's pretty much evident that the Emperor and Kaito love each other. And that even if it is just an extremely deep friendship, it's still a very true.
It's a very strong emotion, something a red person would have.
Yeah, you'd think that, wouldn't you? Like, if it's
like,
romantic,
there's obviously at least one Red Walker, if not both, in the mix here of the thing we're talking about. Right? They wouldn't mess that up. They wouldn't,
Well, here's the thing. She says, you were looking for me after all this time. And he goes, how'd you know? And she says, I have traveled to many planes over the years. A Kamigawa planeswalker searching for his missing emperor is not a story people easily forget. Sometimes I was only a step behind you. If I'd been able to control my spark, our union might have happened much sooner. And as this, Kaito felt the ache in his chest again. All this time he'd been searching for her, it never occurred to him she might be searching for him too. And he says, I'm sorry it took so long to bring you home. And then, of course, she, because of how close they are, she says, you were always late to everything, even our sparring lessons. So basically, like, they're finally together, right? And the Emperor smiles, and it's described, her eyes brighten like a timid sunrise.
Well, that's where we get the anime girl artwork.
Yeah. And so,
this is so awesome. Nothing could break them up again, I bet.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing terrible or horrendous could occur in the next few moments.
That's not how Wizards write.
Yeah, of course.
They write a werewolf who's evil and hates all humans suddenly becoming friends because he loves Arlen.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. So basically, we have Kaito trying to figure out how to, like, basically help the Emperor permanently. While that's happening, Light Paws and Aiko come in with Tamiyo. And Light Paws is just her mouth, just like. And Kaito's still like gripping the Emperor close to him. And he's like, oh, that's right. I'm not supposed to be touching you. There's supposed to be like a silk screen behind us at all times, unless there's like a sparring thing going on. I'm sorry. And so, like, Light Paws is on the floor, like collapsed onto it, bowing down. Aiko's bent at the waist, and like her face is just like, oh my gosh, it's the Emperor. Oh my gosh, it's the Emperor. And so, meanwhile, they're like, look, there's no time for formalities. Rizona's on her way. She's going to thrash everybody and take us all down.
Yeah, have you seen her?
That's pretty much all we know, because at this point, basically, after all this other stuff happens, they kind of explain what's going on. And the Emperor says that she needs to stay at Eiganjo and defend her throne and Kyodai and her people, while Kaito and Tamiyo, they go and they take care of Jin Gitaxias. All they have to do is go in there and blow everything up. I hope there's not a card specifically about blowing stuff up. We've seen plenty of black spells that blow things up, so it would make sense that, you know.
Or it could be some kind of blue spell. Instead of blowing something up, you know, they could do a blue ability since they're both blue. You know, since both planeswalkers are blue, it's not like Wizards would acknowledge that one of the planeswalkers is supposed to be red and put it as a red card or anything. We're sorry, guys. We love this story, but it's so. There's one thing about it that's so bad, and it's just so blaring that we can't help but bring it up.
Yeah. So basically, Kaito he gets to the area, right? And for some reason, the lab is abandoned. They're going through all the different hallways, and everything's open. There's no one trying to stop them. And he's like, "This is too easy. This is like not good." And Tammy goes, "Well, maybe there are like all of them have joined forces with the Asari Uprising. They head for Eiganjo." And he's like, "It doesn't feel right." And so they're going through, and they see all the different areas, and they're considering like the entirety of the compound was basically like ransacked. There's scuff marks on the floor, and so like everything's unlocked, everything's been moved, every door is empty, every cage is empty, I mean. And they go into the lab, and they go into the actual main area. They set up all the bombs, and they blow it up. They're blowing up everything. There's no Kami there. Kaito feels incredibly guilty because he knows that all those Kami are probably dead. And after he's already he's blown up a few things already, right? He sees a guy a few yards away from him in this like big area. And the guy's got pink eyes and a metal arm.
Pink eye. It's our Kitsune OC. Oh wait, metal arm.
Yes.
Oh no, that's not it.
No.
We need to play Sonic Forces now for the channel and make our OC pink eye.
It's just Tezzeret, but a fox.
It's just Tezzeret.
Anyways, so Kaito, obviously he sees him and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna kill this guy. And Tezzeret goes, the boy from the palace, from the rooftops. You looked as angry then as you do now. And so basically, as he's charging at him, he's like, because obviously this is not going to be like a normal fight. This is the kind of fight where you have two characters, they're both like kind of powerful, and when they're fighting, they're also having an entire conversation. Because how else are they going to do it?
Of course.
And so he basically says that the Kami, they're not what we're after. What we actually want, what Phyrexia really needs, you've just brought to us. And so there's this scrape of metal as Jin Gitaxias comes out of the shadows, and he's beside Tezzeret like a giant behemoth of chrome and blue. And basically he just flexes his claws and he leans forward and goes, "For allowing the research to flourish by bringing planeswalkers to our laboratory."
Laboratory.
Sorry, let me rephrase it. For allowing the researchers to flourish by bringing planeswalkers to our laboratory.
How did Dexter get his accent?
I'm
sorry, that's not an easily answered question. Just go on.
Yeah. I must capture the planeswalkers, Didi. For the glory of Phyrexia. Bandicoot. So yeah, basically they figure out this is really bad, and Kaito throughout the story, this is the 4th episode, we've already seen several times how adept Kaito is with his blades and his abilities and everything, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's going to square off against Tezzeret after all this time. And Tezzeret immediately dunks on him. Because all of Kaito's stuff is made of metal. And he can basically just push it with his mind. So like he can throw a ninja star and be like, go a little bit this way, whenever he does it, right?
It's like Wolverine going up against Magneto.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happens. Is like the blades just turn around and now they're all around Tamiyo and Kaito's throats. And they're basically captured. And basically Kaito's telling Tamio, like, look, kill them anyways. They don't have enough of a beat on you. You can do it with all your stuff. And Jin Gitaxias is like, multiple test subjects would provide more opportunities to expand our knowledge. But if one of the fleshlings threatens productivity, then a single specimen will suffice. And so, after all of that happens, after they realize they've basically lost, Tezzeret then just basically says that he heard about someone asking about him and the Emperor, and that after seeing who it was, he is very disappointed.
Wow.
Tezzeret's like, I thought you'd be taller. And so basically, they've got nothing. The Kami are dead. Both of our heroes are captured. There's no way they can get around, right? And so what he does is he thinks about everything happening and how if he pulls out his the trigger for the bombs, he can blow up everything, including Jin Gitaxias and him and Tezzeret, if he kills himself with all the explosives on him. And so he whips it out real quick and he flicks the switch, and before he can hit it, Tezzeret just yoinks it out of his hand because it's made of metal. Your problem is that you depend far too much on the technology I've already mastered. And he just disassembles it with his mind. And the entire detonator is basically a bunch of useless metal and microchips.
Oof.
Yes, it's pretty brutal. But remember, somebody is capable of seeing what's going on during all of that, and that's the Wanderer.
Somebody who's also capable of flashing in and slashing things.
Exactly. But the problem is, the only reason she was able to flash in the way that she did was because Kaito specifically was able to anchor her to that location, right? So, what's crazy is that, well, I'll just say what it says. Because Aiko's like right next to her, right? Mm-hmm. And the Wanderer is looking around because she had basically passed out from the vision. And she says that it was the first time she'd woken up in, it wouldn't have been the first time she'd woken up in an unfamiliar room. And she's like, she hears Kyodai moaning and she's like, okay, yeah, I know where I am. Kaito and Tamio, they're in trouble. It was a trap. The Rizonas, they're a problem, but they're not the main problem. It was a trap to get the Planeswalkers to go where Jin Gitaxias and Tezzeret were, to capture them so that they can be experimented on. They're in a whole lot of trouble, right?
I imagine Rizona's just on the way, and they look up in the palace and see the fight going on between Tezzeret and Kaito, and just like, let's go back that way.
So basically, Lightpaws is like, what are you planning on doing? Wanderer's like, I have to go. I have to go help them. I have to do whatever I can because I just got here and I'm already losing two people that are extremely important to me. They're like, you just met Tamio. Yeah, forget about what I said. So basically, the Lightpaws is like, you can't leave us. You just got here. Like, the Reckoners are coming. Not the Reckoners. The Uprisers are coming. We need to be able to deal with this. And she goes, look, I've been gone 10 years. You can handle 10 minutes.
Snap.
Yeah. And so Aiko's like, you know what? Let's do it. Wanderer, you can go. And they basically overrule Lightpaws. And so Kyodai basically talks with the Wanderer, and she says, look, I can't control my spark. With your help and our bond, I can stabilize it to planeswalk into the compound. And Kyodai's like, the monster will do all he can to take that reality chip and you. And it's cool what she says. I am not afraid of the monsters I can see. I'd rather face the enemy when it's right in front of me than have it hunt me from the shadows. And so Wanderer just takes out her sword, gets ready, and then Kyodai basically anchors her to the plane, because Kyodai is the soul of the plane, and is able to basically calm the Wanderer in such a way that she's not just planeswalking, she's planeswalking to another point in Kamigawa, which basically no one is really able to do.
She'd really thrive on Kaldheim.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've talked to before how it's difficult for planeswalkers to be able to planeswalk between, within planes. Like, Kaldheim's special because it's basically 10, possibly more subplanes essentially connected to each other. But if we look back at Strixhaven, Liliana, who's an old walker, essentially, and had a whole bunch of experience, when she got banished and bounced out of the arena, she was left on the other side of the continent and had to work her way over there. She couldn't just planeswalk back.
She had to walk back. We had a bit about that.
Yeah, exactly, with the sweat.
I am wearing nothing but leather.
You guys, if you don't know what we're talking about, you should go watch the Strixhaven.
Strixhaven's a really good one, too. It's where our frames are from. We're using them now because ink magic or something.
That is true. But yeah, basically, it says, well, it's actually really cool. There's like a lot of cool stuff happening here because it says that basically like a compass being connected to Kyodai, right? And it says that even if she wasn't entirely sure where home was anymore, something inside her heart wondered if home didn't have to be a place at all. Maybe home was with the people she cared about and who cared about her. And that Kaito never gave up on her, and he traveled across plains to find her and willingly faced a monster just to bring her home. She would not give up on him now. And so she planeswalks out of Iganjo and directly into Tameshi's compound. And the moment she's there, not only does she planeswalk in there, she planeswalks in there with her blade cleaving Jin Gitaxias from neck to chest. She just like straight through him.
It's amazing.
And then within like a moment, she also just destroys the bindings that are also on Kaito and Tamio. And he's like, "What? What are you doing here?" And she's like, "I can do this. Just stay away." And she's like, "No, I think you'll find that I'm the one saving your life," which by my count is the second time in less than a day. There are other ways of getting my attention, you know? And so there's a bunch of people coming in, but it's the Emperor of Kamigawa, the Wanderer. She just hands Kaito his dagger, and she says, "I can see all our time apart has left you severely behind on your training. Do try."
Like your sword got smaller.
You got bigger. Your sword stayed the same size. Yeah, that was this one, and that was the whole idea behind this story, and it's so cool.
That's so good.
It's so good. You see a lot of development for the characters, and in the last episode, oh my gosh, so much happens in the last episode. It's so good.
Are we gonna have to Harry Potter this and break it into two?
It's going to be your discretion going into that next episode. Also, we should probably wrap this episode up.
What? Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to go ahead and catch you guys next time with possibly half of maybe or whole two halves the conclusion of Kamigawa with Neon Dynasty.
Ooh.